Good morning, my Appa are back. Here's the plan. There was a break that wasn't a break yesterday. We actually still had a crew of 5 on site, and they put up 6 more forms for the columns in the house. And a really productive day for a very small crew. So today, pour that concrete with new guidelines about what we want them to do to ensure there's no more honeycombing, or as little honeycombing as possible at the base. They'll continue working on the walls around the perimeter of the property, and then more forms will probably get put up for the remaining 6 columns that are yet to be started. So, what could possibly go wrong? During our mini break, there were quite a number of comments left in the comments section and on the vlogs about the columns and about the honeycombing and about the bottom of the columns, in particular on 2 of the columns, one of which there was actually a very small amount of exposed rebar, which has been patched up, but it's not ideal. So I want to thank everybody that has put those comments in. Even though they are in some cases quite direct. In one case, Graham's Cebu Philippines said, you know, these are quite harsh comments. But as I said to him, there are times when harsh comments are required. So we've spoken to the builder this morning, and we've requested, probably stronger than a request, that they revise the way in which the concrete is poured. So what we've said is we want to see the columns being poured effectively in thirds. First third gets poured in, then it gets vibrated properly, as well as hammering. Then the second third gets poured and then vibrated, and then the top third gets poured and vibrated and hammering all the way up. And the builder has agreed. So I did see the forms that came off yesterday with the very small crew, and they actually look very good without those additional requirements being implemented. I didn't see the extent to which they were vibrating yesterday. We weren't around for the whole day, but the end result was good. Today's ones hopefully will be even better. So again, thank you to everybody that put those comments in. That's exactly what we need. A dummy like me who knows nothing about building, if something's wrong, tell me. We can share that. So thanks to everybody. Yesterday, they took the forms off of the 6 columns that were poured on Saturday. This is one, and it is probably the best column we've seen so far. There is no sign of any honeycombing, even at the bottom. So they really did nail this one. The others are all good. They're not, I mean, this one I, basically describe as perfect. The others are all good. They're not quite at this level, but they are all very close to this. So it did improve, and hopefully it'll improve even more with the new measures that we're asking for today. So yesterday, the 5, which was Oliver, Lito, Ariel, Elson and Erwin, really had a very productive day in getting 6 more forms in place. While they were doing that, they were also, it appeared to me, to be pretty careful to make sure that everything still got wetted down. In fact, I did it once, but they took care of it at least once more. All the columns, large areas of the floor, if not all of the floor, they were giving a good dousing of water to help the curing process continue, which is good to see. Today, obviously, more work inside the house, but we're also back working on the front wall, back working on the side wall, up where the neighbour's wall collapsed. Nympha did comment that building the neighbour's wall, building that double thickness wall, was a complete waste of time. And you know, she's right. It is entirely about goodwill. And the builder, despite my reservations, I am sure the builder has got it right. It's costing him very little in terms of time and money. It slows them down a little bit, but it's not much. But it creates that goodwill from our closest neighbour, which we would like to see. So Nymphy, you're right, but I think the correct thing has been done. So we'll see what goes on elsewhere today. The other thing that happened yesterday was they've got another one of these forms that they've started to put in place. So to give you an idea of what comes next, they will complete the columns inside the house, then they will complete all of these external wall forms, then they will start to prepare to put the slab on top. It is only after that slab has been poured that they start on walls. Now again, there were conversations very early on in the process about the fact that you can do things in a different order. You can go quite happily with walls first. I'm kind of more comfortable with the way this is being done, but to repeat a comment that was made in one of the earlier videos, you can go both ways, and builders that I've spoken to have all said, really from a structural point of view, it doesn't matter. So that's the way we're going to do it. If you're thinking of building your house, and you can't be quite as much of a dummy as me, but even if you have more limited knowledge than some, you have that choice. You can go walls first, or you can do what we've done. Slab, columns, slab, then walls. Entirely your choice. A quick reminder of where we got to before the end of the last work week. So this is the front wall, where they've got 6 sections fully up to height, and are now preparing to put the columns in place. So once again, we've got Juanito and Joel and O'Donnell and Unknown with the green hat. I think Gringo. Juanito says good morning. Maya babak. So we'll see how much further we get along here today. I've done it again. Today. One more quick comment on the Fab Five that came in yesterday. That was entirely at their choice. They are all very local. Typically over those holidays of All Saints Day, All Souls Day, it's very common here to visit the cemetery, visit the graves of your family members. But because of COVID, a lot of the cemeteries, if not all, in this area were closed. So the 5 that came in all said, can we work? We can't do what the religious holiday would typically require us to do, so why can't we work? And the builder said, okay. So that was the Fab Five that came in yesterday. And again, as a catch up, this was the wall next to the neighbour's wall, the collapsed wall. This is where we got to. There's no one working clearly on this section right now. They've switched focus, and this might get a bit tricky with sunlight, but we'll try. They've moved back down here, and it looks like they're going to bring some of those sections a little higher. There's only 3 of them. We're a bit down on crew today. After the long holiday, earlier on, we were down at the official starting time. We had 17. Not sure if anybody else has come in yet. Some of them do have a fair way to travel, so it's not so surprising after that long break that we're a couple down at the beginning. Well, more than a couple down. So at the moment, there's only 3 working on this section of wall. It's just after lunch. And we'll start here towards the back of the property next to the neighbours, or close to the neighbours. And here we have 4 sections that have got an additional 2 levels, 2 layers of concrete hollow block. They spin around and risk the sun being in our eyes.
nothing further on the wall right down by the neighbour's house. So all the focus so far, oh goodness, take your dizzy pills again, has been here, and now they're looking to move a little bit further back down towards the east. Here we are pouring, I think, column number 5 for the day. It might even be number 6. I was watching earlier. I have started following the procedure that we sort of requested, demanded, which is pouring the concrete to about a third full, then use the vibrator, repeat until they get to the top. So we'll see if it makes any significant difference, particularly to the base of the columns, although as we saw earlier, the ones they did over the short crew day on Tuesday, yesterday, they look pretty good as well, but this should look even better in theory. And while we're here, we have the beginnings of forms on 3 more columns, which only leaves 1, 2 over the back there, 3 to go. Then we will be columned in. And here at the front, we had, if you remember, at the beginning of the day, 6 sections fully up to height. We now have 8, and are working on these final 4, at least final for now, and we are between 1 and 2 levels up on each of those. So very good progress here at the front, and again, slightly smaller crew, so I think here we've only got 3 guys working, getting on very well. Here at the carport, we've got Richard and Ronwell. Richard here, and over there with a hard hat. Continuing the progress with the tie beam around the top, along with the conduit that's required. And they're basically now tying in the beams with the steel wire. So they're getting closer and closer towards getting those tie beams stored in, although I think they may do the same thing as they're going to do in the house. They may put all the forms up to the roof and then pour the concrete for the tie beams, the roof slab and the top of the columns. We shall see. End of the day. And today, here in the house, once again, 6 columns at the concrete poured. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6. Which leaves us 6 to go. 3 of which have partial forms, 3 have no forms so far. But they are on target to complete the revised estimate of 5 days for all the columns. So they are meeting their target. What we will see tomorrow is whether or not the revised procedure for using the vibrator on a much more regular basis, whether it's made a difference. We'll see whether these 6 have a surface finish that is as close to perfect as you can get. Here at, or towards the back of the property, towards the west, the wall alongside the subdivision next door, we have got an additional 2 levels of hollow block across 8 sections. Now remember, again, today we had a slightly smaller crew. We started with 17. I think we did get up to 18 later in the day. It may have been 1 more. So everything was very, very slightly, well, most things were very slightly slower today. And here we are at the front, at the east end, near the road. Well, they cut it fine. They were going right up to almost the last second, but they have got this wall now fully up to the height of concrete blocks. There will be no more on top of this. There will, of course, be a beam across the top, and they still have the upper part of the columns to pour. all the way across this front wall, and if you can make out in the distance, still 2 more columns, upper halves, to be poured on that side. But this is looking good. For some reason, the front wall seems to mentally give me a greater sense of security than any other wall. I'm really not sure why. It makes no sense. Maybe it's because as people drive by, they will start to see that there is something fairly substantial stopping them from coming in. Of course, right now, if they walk around the back, there's nothing there. But that's not the point. And here at the carport and storage room, Romwell and Richard continued their preparations with the top beam and the columns, and we must be getting pretty close to either pouring those beams individually or getting ready to put a roof on top. And let's just have a look. There's been a comment about stirrups. And the stirrups, if we can make them out on this corner, where the 2 beams and the column come together, those stirrups are really quite close together. Obviously I can't measure them from down here. And then as you go across, you see that the gap increases until it reaches the next column, and then they get closer together again. So, if I remember correctly, and I'm not sure I do, I think that the spacing that was called for was 5 centimetres, then 10 centimetres, then 20 centimetres, if the beam was long enough. And I can't remember for the life of me how far that 5 centimetre gap and the 10 centimetre gap was supposed to extend, but regardless of the numbers, it looks like both vertically and horizontally there are a lot of stirrups around that junction, which is a good thing. That's it, the end of the day. Day 47, I think. The big question, did they fully follow the new procedure for pouring the concrete? We'll find out tomorrow morning. When I was watching, they did appear to be doing it. I wasn't watching all the time, but they did appear to be at much more regular intervals during each column pour. They were using the vibrator, they were hammering. We will see what the results look like tomorrow morning. And then they finish off the 3 forms that are started over there, and the one right in front of us with 2 more they haven't started yet. So, day 47, done. See you tomorrow.